Justin Bieber just got caught in a moment at a GQ event that has the entire internet in an absolute uproar. And I'm talking millions of views, thousands of comments, people genuinely upset about what they witnessed. The footage shows Justin arriving at this high-profile event, and what happened when that car door opened has everyone questioning everything about this relationship. If you're here for the tea, you're in the right place because we're breaking down exactly what went down, why people are so fired up, and what this says about Justin and Hailey's dynamic. So make sure you hit that subscribe button because this conversation is about to get real. All right, so here's what actually happened at the GQ event. The video that's been circulating everywhere shows Justin and Hailey arriving together, and the way this whole thing unfolded is honestly kind of shocking when you actually watch it. The car pulls up to the event, cameras are everywhere. It's a big moment. Justin literally just jumps out first without even a second thought. Then one of his friends hops out right after him. Then another friend exits. It's like watching a clown car situation play out in real time, while Hailey is still stuck inside the vehicle. And here's the thing. Hailey is wearing this dress, right? She's trying to get out of the car, trying to manage her outfit, making sure everything is staying in place for the cameras. She's clearly struggling a bit, trying to compose herself and fix her dress while all the guys have already exited and moved on without her. She looked a little disheveled, a little caught off guard, and honestly, it just came across as really inconsiderate when you watch the whole thing play out. The internet absolutely exploded over this footage. I'm talking about the comment sections. They are brutal. People are saying things like, sometimes getting what you want is the worst thing that can happen to you. Others are pointing out that at this point, if she wants to be in this situation, that's her choice. But the question that keeps coming up over and over is, why didn't Justin help his wife? And honestly, that's what everyone seems to be asking. Someone commented that they hope the Man of the Year award goes to Hailey instead, because they didn't see any actual men get out of that car. Another person pointed out that 3 men exited the vehicle first and left the only woman there to struggle by herself, which they called straight up embarrassing. People are using words like humiliating and saying he never waits for her. Even people who claim they defended the relationship in the past are now saying she truly deserves better. Here's something interesting that people noticed. Even the guy holding the door looked offended on Hailey's behalf. His body language, his facial expression. You could tell he was taken aback by the whole situation. When even neutral third parties who are just doing their jobs look surprised or uncomfortable with how something is unfolding, that tells you a lot about how that moment is coming across in real time. Now, this isn't the first time this type of situation has been captured on camera with Justin and Hailey. There are actually several other videos floating around from different occasions that show Justin maybe not being the most attentive or gentlemanly with his wife. And both of them have been famous for way too long to not understand that their relationship is under constant scrutiny. They know that every single interaction they have in public is going to be analyzed and dissected by millions of people online. When you're at that level of fame, you have to be aware that the cameras are always watching, and people are always forming opinions based on what they see. This isn't new for them. They've both been in the spotlight for years. They've seen how the media works, how public perception forms, how quickly a moment can turn into a viral conversation. Given all that experience and awareness, you would think there would be more consciousness about how these public moments are handled. Let me talk about this from a different perspective for a second. Growing up, a lot of us were taught certain values about how you treat your partner in public. The idea of opening doors, being attentive to your partner's needs, making sure they're comfortable, especially in stressful public situations. It's not about being old-fashioned or outdated. It's about showing basic courtesy and consideration for the person you're with. When you're with someone, especially your wife and the mother of your child, there's a certain level of care and attention that should be shown. That means being mindful of their comfort and needs, particularly in public situations where things can already be overwhelming. Anxiety or stress about paparazzi shouldn't prevent someone from taking care of their partner. Those external pressures shouldn't interfere with basic consideration toward your spouse. Think about how this situation at the GQ event could have been handled differently. Justin and his friend could have arranged the seating so that Justin was next to the door with Hailey beside him. Then when they arrived, Justin could have stepped out first and immediately turned to help Hailey exit the vehicle properly. He could have offered his hand to help her down, made sure her dress was sorted, and then walked into the event together as a united couple. His friend could have exited from the back after that. Or if they wanted Hailey to have her solo moment on the carpet, Justin could have helped her out of the car first, stepped aside to let her have that moment, and then followed behind. There are multiple ways to handle these situations that show respect and consideration, while still managing the logistics of a high-profile event arrival. Instead, what we saw was Hailey looking disheveled and struggling on her own while wearing a complicated outfit, trying to make sure nothing inappropriate was showing, while also trying to maintain composure for all the cameras. She essentially looked like she was bringing up the rear like some kind of afterthought, rather than being treated like the wife and partner she is. Now, let's be real about something. Some people might say this is being blown out of proportion. They might argue that we're reading too much into a few seconds of footage. And look, that's a valid perspective. We don't know what was said between them in that car. We don't know if they had some kind of plan or arrangement. We're looking at this from the outside. But here's why people are reacting so strongly. It's not just this one moment. When you look at the pattern of behavior in other captured moments, it does seem like there's a consistent issue with Justin not being as attentive as people might expect. This isn't a one-time thing that got caught on camera at a bad angle. There have been multiple instances over time where similar dynamics have been observed and commented on. That pattern is what makes people more critical, because it suggests this isn't just an isolated mistake. It appears to be more of a consistent way of operating that doesn't prioritize his partner's comfort and dignity in public settings. And when you're as famous as the Biebers are, those patterns become really visible really quickly. Hailey has defended their relationship multiple times in the past and has spoken about how happy she is. That's her choice and her truth, and nobody can tell her how to feel about her own marriage. She knows Justin better than any of us ever will. She sees things we don't see. She understands their dynamic in ways the public never could. At the same time, people who care about her, or who just have opinions about relationships in general, are going to react when they see things that don't sit right with them. The comment sections are full of people expressing concern or disappointment, not necessarily because they dislike Justin or want to tear down the relationship, but because they want to see Hailey treated with the care and respect they believe she deserves. Here's what makes this whole situation particularly complex. Celebrity relationships exist in this weird space where they're both deeply private and incredibly public at the same time. Justin and Hailey have to navigate their actual real relationship while also managing how that relationship is perceived by millions of people who feel invested in their story. Every gesture, every look, every public interaction gets analyzed frame by frame. That's the reality of celebrity, and it never really stops. For better or worse, that's what they signed up for when they became public figures and decided to have a public relationship. And it's something they have to navigate constantly. Different people have different perspectives on what matters in relationships. Some people are raised with certain values about chivalry and respect that become deeply ingrained in how they move through the world. Holding doors open, letting your partner go first, being attentive to their needs. These might seem like small gestures, but they reflect a deeper attitude about respecting and valuing your partner. Not everyone operates this way, and that's okay, because relationships are personal and people have their own dynamics. However, when those private dynamics play out in very public ways, they become subject to public opinion and commentary. That's just the nature of fame and social media culture. What's interesting is how divided people are on this. Some people think the criticism is completely justified and that Justin should be more mindful of how he treats Hailey in public. Others think people need to mind their own business and stop judging a relationship they're not part of. Some people are somewhere in the middle, acknowledging that while the optics aren't great, we don't know the full story. All of those perspectives have some validity. We're all looking at this through our own lens, shaped by our own experiences and values. What one person sees as disrespectful, another person might see as just a couple being comfortable with each other and not putting on a show. But here's what I think is worth considering. When something like this happens repeatedly, and the public reaction is consistently negative, at some point it might be worth paying attention to that feedback. Not because the public gets to dictate how someone's relationship should work, but because perception does matter when you're a public figure. And more importantly, the way you treat your partner in public can reflect how you value them in general. This whole situation really highlights how every action gets magnified when you're living life in the public eye. Small moments that might be completely insignificant in a normal person's life become major talking points when you're famous. The scrutiny is intense, and it never really lets up. For Justin and Hailey, they have to constantly balance being authentic in their relationship, while also being aware that millions of people are watching and judging every interaction. That's a tough position to be in, no question about it. But it's also the position they're in, and how they choose to handle these situations is entirely up to them. Whether Justin adjusts his behavior based on this feedback, or whether he continues operating the same way, that's his choice. Whether Hailey is bothered by these moments, or whether she's completely fine with how things are, that's between them. What we can do as observers is form our own opinions about what we see and have conversations about what we value in relationships and partnerships. At the end of the day, this GQ event moment sparked a massive conversation about respect, partnership, and how we treat the people we love in public. It got people talking about what they expect from their own relationships and what they want to see from public figures they follow. And regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of opinions about this, the conversation itself reveals something about what people value and what matters to them. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think people are overreacting to this moment? Or do you think the criticism is valid? Do you believe Justin should be more attentive to Hailey in public? Or do you think their relationship dynamics are their own business? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I genuinely want to know what you think about this whole situation. And if you made it this far, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're always breaking down the latest celebrity news and giving you all the perspectives you need to form your own opinions. I'll see you in the next one.